Shalom. First and foremost, I want to say Kalam Yahweh Bashim Shai Bashim Hawakakodash, and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who do roll and teach well, and honor to the brothers out there across the four corners pushing the truth. It's like it, pushing the truth with all sincerity and meekness. All right, it's Tazapanya, checking in. We're just gonna get into a couple scriptures about the prophets. All right. You know, different scriptures on prophecy, how we know we're in the end times, and just things like that. All right, so this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 28 and 8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesy both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. Right? Yeah. So the prophets, there's been prophets that were there before Jeremiah's time, that were around during Jeremiah's time, right? And of course, there'll be prophets after, right? And they all prophesied against many countries, against kingdoms, evil, war, evil, and a pestilence, right? And the word prophet means to say before, right? And we'll get um, Amos chapter 3, verse 6. Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people will not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city, and the Lord hath not done it? Right? So a trumpet back then would be a sign that the enemy was coming. The watchman would do that, which watchman is also represents a prophet, because the prophets are out there watching the news, right? You know, and watching current events, and then making videos, and then breaking it down to the Kakodash. All right, that's the role of a prophet. Right, that's what we have to do out there. All right, then break it down, right, and then push it out. Right, do these do the videos, right? Because like it says in Daniel, knowledge should be increased. We have technology now. Also, like it says in Second Esdras, the book shall be opened before the firmament. Right, so we have this internet. So we don't have to travel physically to where you're at for me to teach you. Or you travel to me. Right, I can just make a video. And, you teach the whole full lect, that way. All right. So yeah, second part shall be evil in the city and not done it, because the Lord controls everything. All right, and we do. So we have to warn our people. Say, hey, judgment is coming. Jacob's trouble is coming. Right? Don't take the MOTB. All right, come back. Learn who your power is. Learn His name. Learn the name of the Father. Learn the name of the Son. All right, turn back. Away from this world, the ways of this world. All right, learn what your true nationality is. That you're an Israelite. According to your fathers. All right, identify who you are on the tribe by asking about where your father is, so on and so forth. Just believe. All right, just the Lord's dealing with you. The Lord's dealing with you. Okay. But yeah, the Lord controls everything, good and evil. All right. He controls the spirits in the left hand and the spirits in the right hand. Verse 7, surely the Lord power will do nothing but reveal His secrets unto His servants the prophets. All right, so yeah, the Lord speaks to His men. All right, that's why it says in Isaiah 55, 6 and 7. All right, seek ye the Lord while He may be found. All right, call ye upon Him while He is near. You seek the Lord by going to His men. All right, by watching their videos, watching the camp videos, watching the sit downs, or going in person, taking notes, and so on and so forth. Right, whatever it is, through the Spirit, man. All right. But yeah, the Lord speaks to His prophets. So that's what it says. Prophets before thee and before the old prophesy both against great kingdoms, war, evil, pestilence. All right, because to warn our people. Right. Also to tell the heathen of their judgment. Right, that this is going to happen. All right, and that's happened many times. Different prophecies and things like that. Prophets came out, spoke of a nation's downfall. The downfall would come. and it would happen, man. You know. So yeah. So let's go back to this topic. But in these times, right? We're doing the same thing, prophesying of war, evil, and the pestilence. Just only thing in this time is that our people are not gonna go into another form of bondage after this captivity, right? Because, like it says in Revelation 21, you saw the old heaven disappear, right? New heaven and new earth, which means a new rulership, which means that you know the tribes, you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, us as a people, we're never gonna go into slavery again. We're never going to go into bondage, right? Like it also says in Revelation 21, Lord shall wipe all tears from our eyes. All right. So yeah, verse 9, the prophet prophesied peace when the word of the prophet shall come to pass, then shall the prophet be known that the Lord hath truly sent him. All right. So if a prophecy comes to pass, then you know the Lord truly has sent him, right? And look at what you're seeing here. With all these prophecies and things come forth, wars, rumors of wars, these are things that elders and apostles on down to the men, right, have been speaking about, for decades, man. Right? And it's coming to pass, different pestilences and things like that, you know, like, an elder brother always mentions, to a camp when the whole Windows 19 popped off, one of his cousins was like, yo, man, this stuff you've been talking about, I guess it's all true, you know. But you're gonna have a lot of jigs that are gonna, be like that. They're gonna, think that they can find the men, you know, find us and look for us. When Jigger Show pops off, him and the word is in full swing. Right? But in that time, those gonna have his men be pulled off the streets. So, they're not gonna be able to find us. These different 2/3 and whatever. Because while the men were out there, while the videos were available, and all kinds of archive channels were out, all kinds of playlists were out. Brothers were making videos on top of videos. Brothers all over the world making videos on top of videos. They had full chance to catch them and learn, but they didn't want to do that. All right, so this is the book of 6 and 9. All right, like I said, different scriptures on prophecy, prophets, prophecy, how we know we're in the end times. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. All right, it's like I was saying before, this age that we're in right now. All right, Esau's the end of the age. All right, so yeah, when Esau's, the age that we're in right now, it's Esau's rulership. All right, and Jacob will be the one to, start right after that. All right, so Esau being in power is the end time prophecy, man. All right, now we're just in the end of the end times. All right, where Esau's rulership is crumbling. All right, it's crumbling as we speak. Like Deuteronomy 30:7, these curses shall be, transferred onto your enemies. All right, and our top enemy, all these Edomites. Right, that's why you hear about their woman, the younger woman, their young generation, a new generation, talking about how much they hate, Edomite men, and how much they love Jake, and they can't stand Edomite men, and shit like that, man. It's coming down into those times now. Alright, so yeah, these curses are on our enemies. They're feeling it, the economic burden. That was really their elites put that on them, because all this stuff, it's all engineered, right? The whole Windows, Windows 19 thing, that was all engineered, to happen, and things like that, and these different, inflation, all that stuff is engineered. They do this shit on purpose, man, and even having the fiat currency to begin with, right? They did that all on purpose, right? They just think that they're doing it of their own will, but it's really the Lord, that has them as, having them do that, There's different left hand spirits and things like that. These elites, they think that they're, they're in control, of everything, but it's really the Most High that's in control. All right, because it's There's no free will. Every man stands in his lot. Right? But yeah, you know, Jacob is the beginning that followeth. Right? So then this age ends. Yahushua comes back, and you know, all the threes popped off and everything, and they're like they're beamed up, and that's the end of Esau's rulership. Right? They grab them from the bunkers, take them back to our land, Israel, force them to rebuild it, right? Because Israel's gonna get nuked in World War III, and then it's just gonna be, you know, that's the kingdom. The kingdom's in full swing at that point, man. It's there, right? The kingdom, starts with us, right? It's gonna be physical, right? Once we come down and force these heathen to, rebuild our land, so on and so forth. We put them in subjection. All right, Lord, we have that number. All right, the whole elect. All right, more edified, and I say, Shalom.